How are you? How's it going up there? You treating you all right? How's everybody?
Hey, Billy. How we doing?
Good, proper?
Proper.
Good. You got the private colors on today.
Open that is right now.
I don't know how to do that. I used music teacher night. Didn't use the microphone. No, when I started talking, only half the gym was filled. So I'm like, all right, guys, I like to walk around anyway.
Oh no,
And then all of a sudden, I'm like,
you can't hear this guy.
no, everyone I tried there. My psych was all the way in the back corner. He's like, I can hear you. I was like, at one point, I was
That's
like,
what
yeah,
it sticks. Well, my microphone, every other word.
So are we live right now? No, not yet? Not yet, okay. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. No, we can wait for Lee to sit down. All right, I think we're ready now. Okay, so hopefully everybody on YouTube can hear me and can see us. This should be our first live meeting broadcast, so hopefully it goes smooth. I'm sure we'll get feedback if it doesn't. At this time, I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the Suffern Central Board of Education for Tuesday, October 22nd, 2019. Let the record reflect that all board members are present with the exception of Melissa Reamer. The time is 8:13. I'm going to ask everybody to rise for the pledge and please remain standing when we're finished. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, I would like to ask for a moment of silence. Some of you may have known, or may not have known, Dr. Judith Johnson. I'm going to read a little statement. We'd like to take a moment of silence in memory of Regent Dr. Judith Johnson. Dr. Johnson was a lifelong educator who always fought for equity for all students. As a Rockland resident, she advocated often for issues directly impacting our community. Most recently, as a member of the Board of Regents, she was a voice of reason with a consistent focus on students. And I know that there are some people up at this table today who knew her personally, and we just wanted to take a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, just a couple of quick things before we really get rolling. We will be returning to executive when we're done. We have one last piece to finish. We're almost done, but didn't want to waste any more of your time. We will not be coming down to vote on anything, just to finish a conversation from our executive agenda. Secondly, before we get moving, I would like to make a motion to table the discussion item. That was 4.01 for the New York State Comptroller's Audit Report. We're going to table that until the next meeting. I wanted to do that now in case anybody was planning on, or anticipating that conversation. So Do I have a motion to table that? Mr. Shapiro, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. McKenzie? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Okay. Thank you.
Table this to November 5th.
Yes. Okay. Student report. Do we have a student report? No? No students today. Okay. Minutes of the regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting from October 7th? Mr. McKenzie? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Shapiro? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. Acting Superintendent's comments.
I have two comments tonight. The first is I just wanted to make everyone aware and thank the board. This week is School Board Recognition Week, and so I'd like to recognize our board members and thank them for their service. You know, we don't always agree, sometimes we disagree, but all of these board members serve as volunteers. And I think that's really important to recognize that they're well-intentioned, putting in the time and the effort on a volunteer basis, and I thank you all for that time you put in.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'd like to share on Friday of this week, we had a very exciting day in one of our projects for project-based learning, and that was in the high school interior design class. And we had a guest visitor, Jen Cook, yes, that's her real name, who created the foodie bus, and she's a chef. But LOHUD was able to cover it. They only sent a videographer, so there's not a big article, but there's a really nice video that features some of our students. So I'm going to ask that we play that.
She has to rewind it. It's to the end. She has to rewind it. She has to write down. It's muted.
So much for that live stream.
You know what? I will work on it while we're doing other things, and I'll show it at the end.
Okay. To be continued. Public participation. This is public participation on action items only. Please feel free to step to the podium. And again, this will be to discuss or comment on action items only. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, I'm going to close that portion of the meeting. Action items. Does anybody have any action items that they wish to pull? No? No? Okay, so we will be using a consent agenda, action items 2.01 through 2.10. Do I have a motion? Dr. Nick Pond. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Cairns? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you.
So embedded in those action items tonight, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Courtney Violetti for earning her tenure tonight and to thank the board. A wonderful administrator, and I look forward to many years working together with Mrs. Violetti. And we will, have you again as part of the celebration in April, but congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, moving right along. CSIPs. Who's up first?
Looks like that's not coming up either.
I can. You want me to try to project? That was having a little bit of trouble earlier when I tried to.
Is it a swipe or a tap?
It's a swipe or a tap. We'll try both.
That's what I'm supposed to do.
All right. See, this is the part that was happening before, the big white.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a pretty comprehensive plan.
Can we go back to yesterday when it was working so
Does it get more
nicely?
complex
Yeah.
than this?
Oh, they're
Oh, there
both
we go.
All right. Thank goodness. All right, so hello, my name is Sue Pario, and it is an honor for me to introduce the highlights for the elementary school's comprehensive school improvement plans for the 2019-2020 school year. So our 5 elementary schools share many similarities, and I'll be discussing many of those with you tonight. However, our schools are also very unique, and we celebrate those differences, and we use them as opportunities to learn from one another. And each of our principals tonight will give you a few examples of the way their school kind of sets itself apart from all the others. So one of the ways that we make sure that we are kind of staying together despite being in 5 different buildings is by having a shared vision for instruction. In order to have a shared vision for instruction, we use shared curriculum. Our curriculum is very carefully chosen, and we use it to make sure that our students are having a consistent and cohesive experience, both within the schools and across the schools. Another thing that we take advantage of is many opportunities for collaborative planning. And again, that takes place within the building, but also across the buildings, and also with specialists that work with our teachers and help us to learn and grow both from each other and from others. Another thing that we make sure of is that we have shared norms, tools, and methods. And you'll see a lot of those things as I continue talking about curriculum in the next few slides. So what I'd like to talk about tonight are some of our district priorities and goals, and you'll see that those also are similar across the schools. So these are things that we are always trying to improve. So we are trying to improve student achievement in literacy, improve student achievement in mathematics, and improve student social and emotional skills. So they're sort of perennial goals, and we're constantly striving for improvement. So again, over the next few slides, you'll see that we'll address where we're going, how we're going, and where we'll be going next. Some of our changes that we've made this year are adding in additional units of study, and we use those for teaching literacy. So this year, all 5 of our elementary schools will be using the phonics units of study. Those are created by Teachers College, which is out of Columbia University. We piloted the phonics units of study last year in 3 buildings, and we saw tremendous growth from our students. There's a few quotes up there. One of the kindergarten teachers, or a few of the kindergarten teachers who were piloting, had mentioned that their students had never been that far along by December as they were last year. At the end of the year, when the students took their developmental reading assessments, the teachers were saying things like, my scores are through the roof, we've never seen anything like this before. So this year we've expanded that program, and all 5 elementaries will be using it. The thing with the phonics, the reading and the writing, is that they're reciprocal processes, and instruction in one benefits the other. So having all of those pieces in place with a shared philosophy and shared structures
really helps close the loop and allows kids to transfer what they're learning in one area to another. And to support us with that work, we have a partnership with Teachers College Reading and Writing Project, where we have staff developers who come and visit some of our schools. During each of those school visits, our literacy coach attends and then helps transfer what was learned in one building to all of our other buildings and shares that information with everyone else. This year, we're also excited to soon begin working with an E&L coach. And our E&L coach will help us make sure that we are using instructional methods that will allow us to reach the needs of all of our students, including our English language learners. But when you think about elementary school students, they're all language learners, so we'll benefit from that instruction across the board. So the next piece, excuse me, are some of the other exciting pieces that we have in place that are similar in the buildings. So for math, all of our buildings are using investigations and/or Eureka Math, which is also referred to as Engage New York. Beneath that, you see some of the digital resources that we have for our students. And the nice thing about the digital resources that are both on this page as well as the page before is that many of them are game-like, they're fun, and they're adaptive. So they're really meeting the needs of kids wherever kids are. Some of them offer skilled review so that maybe the class moved on, but they still needed reinforcement in some things. So those offer opportunities for that, but also for acceleration as well. Next up, we have STEAM, and there are so many exciting things happening under that umbrella. So we have the full option science system, which is part of our science curriculum. We have Project Lead the Way, engineering is elementary. We have maker spaces in all of our schools. We have coding going on from kindergarten on up. We have robotics in place from kindergarten on up. And I think our instructional facilitators captured it well when they were saying that we offer and support a variety of learning opportunities to encourage our students to pursue personal excellence through divergent thinking. But I think the kids captured it best when they said, when you're in this space, and this was their maker space, and this is kind of a few of their quotes put together, you can let your creativity flow. It's an adventure. You can be a leader and a partner at the same time. Really cool. I wish Lee's video had come up, because then you would have had a chance to see some of the PBL in action, the project-based learning. And that really offers an opportunity for our students to connect with the local community members. Ken Wojciechowski, he works closely with the Think Global PBL Academy and really creates learning experience that go far beyond flat paper for our students. The next piece, and this is actually district-wide, this is K through 12. We have a focus on social emotional learning with the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, and they refer to this as the ruler approach. I'm sure you've seen a lot of tweets going on about this. We started it last year where we introduced it with staff members. This year we're rolling it out for the children, and then eventually it will be with the families this year as well. But the premise of it is that emotions impact everything that we do, whether it is your attention and memory and learning, or your decision making, or your relationships with other people, or your physical health, your emotions matter. So what this tries to do, excuse me, is use the ruler skills, which you could see the acronym on the side is for recognizing emotions, understanding the causes and consequences of emotions, labeling emotions with nuanced vocabulary, which is a big piece, giving kids the words to explain how they're feeling. And they have a little saying that if you can name it, you can tame it. Expressing emotions in accordance with cultural norms, and then regulating emotions with helpful strategies. You'll see in the center of that slide that there are the ruler anchor tools, and each of those work in different ways to help support students using the ruler skills. One of our favorites went through the training was the meta moment, and that is taking that moment to put some distance between stimulus and response so that you can really think about your best self and how you really want to react in a way that later on you'll be proud of. So there's really important skills that impact every area of a child's life, and this is something that is happening K-12. So our 5 elementary schools, our principals are here to speak about their schools and all the things that are great about them. And first up tonight, we have Christine Dress from Viola.
Oh,
I'm getting some feedback about the live stream.
that you speak closer
You want me
into
to?
the mic.
Or you could just tap
Because
it.
we hear you great in this room, but on the live stream, they're having a little trouble.
I'm sorry,
So I
what,
just wanted to ask you to speak a little more into the mic. For the friends of
Oh.
you, move it a little closer.
I'm the very fortunate principal of Viola Elementary. This is something that I feel very fortunate and very lucky. It happens to be my 13th year, and I know that 13 isn't always lucky for everyone. For me, 13 has always been lucky. So I am very happy to be speaking on behalf of Viola. Viola's mission really speaks to who we are. During the next few minutes, you will hear me speak to how we live this mission every day and how our vision to work together to achieve success happens every day. My word for the year this year was supportive. Coincidentally, I asked parents to complete a Wordle to share their word to describe our school, and the most utilized word, as you can see is depicted on the slide, was supportive teachers. It couldn't make a principal more happy. We spent our very first minutes on opening day supporting each other. As we stepped out of our comfort zone, we learned drumming from our very own music teacher, Mr. Zobel. We were able to do this with our own drums because of our supportive PTA provides teacher grants to support our instruction and our innovative student programs as well as our resources. We are very fortunate to receive a 5th grade gift this year to support our Yale EI that you heard Mrs. Perrio talk about and our social emotional learning. It was such an important gift. We actually sealed the mood meter into our foyer floor to ensure that all who enter it know that we care and support social and emotional learning. Because of the support we have and we've been given and provided to with our staff and students, you will see there is an increase in our reading benchmark levels. According to the DRA, we reached our goal of 70%. There was also a growth in our overall RIT scores on the NWA from fall to spring. We continue to use our Achieve program. The average gain for students on Achieve was a 97 in Lexile growth. We made an astonishing 170 Lexile growth for all students who completed only 2 or more activities, and 55% of our students are exceeding their expected growth in reading. Many of the students are using the program in their free time. 90% of those students are logging on outside of our school day. We created a K Early Literacy Intervention team last year to target students with weaknesses in phonological awareness and identified this through our Dial Kindergarten screening. It was the first year that we really dug into this, and we created a K-1 pilot and phonics program. We noticed even higher benchmark results ending in our K and 1, as Mrs. Perrio spoke to earlier. Our teachers were bragging so much about how good our students were doing, how engaged and how excited they were about learning to read. We also K2 piloted our TC reading program. Due to this, and to support all of the new programs, we created more school-based literacy PD opportunities, and we formed a K2 teacher leadership team who attended a year-long BOCES class in breaking the code in phonics to even help students support students even more in reading. Due to the support we received in math, we have also observed growth was higher than our projected growth this year. Our IXL, we had solved over 1 million problems were solved this year. As depicted, this also shows a positive growth in our proficiency. We continue to utilize our peer-to-peer teaching. We support teacher-student leaders so that they can go into our youngest grade levels, into classrooms from youngest to all the way up to grade 5, in order to teach and explain our IXL, diagnostics and analytics, to empower students to understand their own reports, to set goals and create a plan for improvement. In order for learning to happen and for students to learn from a place of reduced anxiety and stress, we focused on decreasing student conflict. We reduced student conflict this year by 39%. We did this by increasing student problem-solving skills, student choice, and student connectiveness. Kelso the Frog helps students with problem-solving strategies. Dr. Recess improves the connectedness and choice. Students this year focused on student reflections. Due to staff training and staff help, students were able to reflect on recess, their activity level, and provide feedback to us to improve important student behavior and to empower them in their own social and emotional learning. As you heard Mrs. Perrio speak to, we do have our Yale EI charters that we developed as a staff and those in our school this year in September with our students. We also have discussed and used our mood meter and taught to specific and explicit instruction to teach vocabulary related to emotions. We continue to teach tolerance and support inclusion through daily instruction, DARE, Adopt a Cop, Candle, and our Start with Hello program. You just heard me speak to inclusion, connectiveness, community, and just how much we value feeling supported. We can't tell you enough how much we value our diversity. Currently, we have more than 5 languages spoken by our ENL students. We embrace our diversity in our community in many ways. A couple examples are celebrating through our Start with Hello program as part of the Sandy Hook Promise campaign and our Multicultural Night. As part of our Start with Hello initiative, students are greeted by students and staff holding signs in various languages. Activities continue throughout the week. No one sits alone at lunch. We're wearing name tags to greet students and staff by name of students we may not know, so that we're all getting to know each other in our community. PA announcements are done by our native speakers in their native language during the week. Last year, we hosted our very first multicultural night in which 16 different cultures were represented. Please join us this Friday, November 8th for our multicultural night. And lastly, I'd like to talk about our Viola Spotlights. This year we've had several new ones. We are showing kindness with our Be the I in Kind initiative. We have several pathways. We added more sensory pathways than we had last year. We have developed our very own children's rights pathway on our grounds. And we have a peace path that we have developed in our recess yard to allow students to empower them to create, to solve their own problems rather than going to adults. We have our One School, One Book initiative. The World According to Humphrey is the book we're reading. We're connecting it to STEAM by building mazes for Humphrey. We're trying new models for T. 2 years ago, we piloted our very first pre-K program, and this year, our grade 4 has brought 2 classes, Respect and Grit, together to bring 21st century environment together with team teaching, improved scheduling of service providers to support innovative, instructive, and research-based practices. Literacy and learning. We are this year so excited that we have the opportunity to be a TC Institute Model School, and we continue to expose students to many outside beyond the school wall opportunities such as knitting, bird watching, and environmental awareness and responsibility. Inspire. We have our Kids for Wish Kids, with inspired special classes in all 3 grade levels showing student leadership to create fundraising opportunities through their very own self-directed and created implemented public service videos, their student-led class visits, and their designed fundraising activities. They will be providing wishes for children with life-threatening illnesses. Our garden, it just keeps on giving. It continues to give to the Slopeberg Food Pantry, our Suffern Church, Tevaland. It promotes student leadership and self-regulation as they work in the garden to plant and harvest in their own self-created and designed garden. Health, our staff and students continue to support various campaigns. This past year, we added on to our previous Cycle for Survival, as well as our coat and food drives. We added on a Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation in honor of a student who was recently diagnosed. And this year, we had some staff who just walked this past Sunday in the walk. Our Tinkering Engineering Lab, innovation happens there every day. But we have both our Robotics Club and now our Junior Robotics Club happening there. And summer learning opportunities. Our theme for this year was on a Woodstock theme. We called it Bookstock. And we created musical instruments as our summer challenge and also celebrated a myriad of summer learning activities across all of the content areas for students to engage in. Learn more about our Raccoon Pride by following us on Twitter at Viola Achieves. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity of allowing me to present the Montebello Elementary School Improvement Plan. I'll begin tonight with who we are and what we ground ourselves in every day through all of the decisions that we make when we are working with students, parents, and with staff. We are a community of mindful learners who use their voice to inspire others and profoundly impact the world around them. And we value resiliency, responsibility, and resourcefulness. And these are always the things that we look at as we make decisions, when we're in team meetings, when we are working with, as I said before, children and parents. And these are the things that I hope that you'll see as I talk about our highlights throughout the presentation that you will see as well. We will start with our first priority, which is to increase student achievement in literacy. As you can see, for our DRA growth for that should say 2017, 18, not 18, 19. We've had significant growth from the fall, which is in the blue, to the red, which was the spring. Our goal for the K-2 was to have 100% proficiency. We didn't necessarily meet that goal, but we did meet at least the 1 year worth of growth for students. You will see for kindergarten, for example, we had 97% proficiency. So that was one of the increases that we saw due to, we think, one of the factors was the phonics that we piloted last year for Lucy Calkins with Teachers College. 80%, 88% for first and second grade. And again, that was an increase from even the year before that. We continue to work with grades 3, 4, and 5, and we are very much involved with the Teachers College. Again, this year, they are coming to the school to work with us as they are over at Viola. And we also continue to work with the literacy coaches through the district. We use our human resources as well, our English language learner teachers, our literacy coaches, to get into classrooms so that we can make small group instruction. We just try to really work with their schedules to see what we can do to maximize the time that we actually have with students. We use Eleanor Cerny, our instructional facilitator, as well to support those interventions when needed, so that students that need to be enriched are enriched, and students who also need some reinforcement are getting that reinforcement. On the bottom, we have the NWEA results. We have our observed growth in the blue and the projected growth, which is the diamond there. And you can see that we, in some areas we were above it, some areas we were a little bit below it. And there's different factors for that, but it's just something that we continue to look at and we use as a tool to help us only develop our instruction and make those decisions even stronger and better. Our next priority is to increase student achievement in mathematics. And if you look again, we have the growth chart, again with the wrong years, sorry about that. And also the observed growth and the projected growth. For the NWEA, just as for the literacy piece, you see that there are increases, and this is consistent each year to year. We have these similar increases, and so we continue to look to make those increases next year as well. We have investigations in grades K through 3, and in addition, we are looking to really move toward a more of a workshop model so that students are really involved in the math with a mini lesson and then independent practice time where teachers can also take students off to the side and work with them in smaller groups for reinforcement or for enrichment or reteach, whatever is needed for the student. Ultimately at Montebello, what we do is we just try to do what is best for each child. And that may sound overwhelming when you're talking about 400 students in a building or 25 students in a classroom, but I think most people would say that when they come through Montebello, the one thing that they do feel is that their education was personalized to them. And I can say that because I see the teachers and how they implement what they implement with students, making learning enjoyable and also making it so that they feel that they can take risks and learn from whatever mistakes that they're making. With the math, we also look at other things, not just what it's not just investigations or the Engage New York hybrid model that we may use, but we also look at the project Lead the Way with Mr. Wojciechowski, and also a lot of the coding that and all the STEAM projects that Eleanor does with students as well. Also, a lot of the teachers have taken on robotics in their classrooms. So all of this just talking about what is math. Math is not necessarily how we learned it with just numbers and multiplication and addition and subtraction, but it really is part of our world and a lot of things that we interact with most days. So we try to get students to see that so that they also can appreciate math in a different way and become problem solvers. And our third priority is to increase student achievement in behavior and attendance. And I am proud to, we'll start with bus referrals. We're going to go from the right to the left there. We have, if you look at over time from 14-15, where we started with 67 referrals, we decreased down to 19 last year. And that was an incredible decrease, comparison to 4 years ago. And the same with recess referrals. And one of the reasons why we believe that has happened is just because of some of the professional development that we've done with the staff for both the lunch monitors and also the bus drivers, being really in touch with them and making sure that they feel included and that they feel part of the school community. And then also following up on any of the referrals that do come in, making sure that that there are consequences, but the consequences are natural to whatever the behavior was. We've also relied heavily on the cameras that are on the buses, and I mentioned that in past CSIP presentations, that we cannot thank you enough for the cameras just within the school and then also on the buses, because this does help prevent some things that may occur and also allows us to see what is actually happening. Once students become aware that there are cameras and we can pull these up and they know that we're not joking about it, it does change the behaviors pretty quickly. So that's also been helpful. But more so is the professional development and also just the practices that we use within the school, constantly reminding students to speak from a kind and caring place in their heart, to be mindful of their actions, and to just be self-reflective as they choose their words and actions. Our frequent and chronic absenteeism is still a work in progress. We are less than we were last year. So we started tracking it 3 years ago. It was lower 2 years ago. It was definitely higher, and now it is down a little bit more again. So we're continuing to monitor that, follow up with parents when there are children who are absent, and just really trying to figure out what is it that is making a child want to be at school, or what is it that's making them not want to be at school. And when we have a child who doesn't want to be at school, well, what is it that's preventing them from being here, and how do we work with the parent to get them here? Just a couple of things that we've started to do to make school even more enjoyable than it already is, and students really do enjoy coming to school every day, is looking at the Yale EI, as we mentioned before, talking about the emotions. How are you feeling? A lot of teachers start their day off with a morning meeting where students are beginning to track their moods, and teachers are also beginning to track their moods. So after some time, if a child is constantly reporting that they are tired, especially in the morning, or not feeling very up to being at school, the teacher is having an off-to-the-side conference with that student and even able to talk to the parent about it. And I've heard a couple of conversations just in the last week at parent-teacher conferences that have come up as a result of this data that teachers have collected. So it's the Yale EI mood meter, and identifying the emotion is really allowing our teachers to see students in a different way, and also for the students to see the teachers, because teachers are tracking their moods as well and talking about it with the class. So it's just been a great opportunity for people to open up and share a little bit more. We also had on September 11th, my staff decided that they wanted to do something that welcomed students to the school. So they went out there, they got there early, and they chalked the sidewalk with just different inspirational messages for students. And students were shocked to see this when they came in. They were like, why did our teachers do this? What's going on? They just wanted to give something back for the students, and it was just a beautiful morning. And they plan to do that now once a month, for at least as long as the weather maintains. And again, I think this is another way to get our students to see that we value them and that we want them in school, and this is a place that you want to be. And it's the majority want to be there, but there are some who do have some struggles getting to school, and we want to get them on board as well. And this year, we're really excited about the safety patrol that we're starting with 5th grade. RP Connor does it, and they've had an amazing success with it. And our 5th graders are about to start it this year, and I think that this will only reduce our recess and bus referrals even more, because these are students who will take on leadership roles with all children and with them, with themselves. So they really have to be mindful of their own behaviors if they want to be part of this, and if they would like, continue to pursue being a patroller. So we're very excited about that. And finally, I talked a little bit about our highlights. I don't have a highlights page, but I didn't want the night to end without recognizing that it is our 50th anniversary at Montebello, and we celebrated our kickoff was on October 4th, which was a really special day, and we actually have one of the former teachers here, if you don't mind me calling you out. She's knitting over here right now. She's ignoring me. She attended, and it was just a really beautiful morning. And one of the teachers said to Mrs. Weber that Montebello will always be a piece of their heart, and she shared that when she spoke to the whole school. And it just made me think that not only about Montebello, and as you know, I was at the middle school, but just the district as a whole. On this day, for example, we had the drum line that was able to be there, and so I had some support from the high school. There were just different people that were involved in the whole process of this, and different people who attended. And when you start to look at the district as a whole, you get a really warm feeling in your heart, because there is a piece of all of us, I think, that reflects this district and the pride that we have for the district. And a day like this that we had on October 4th, that really stood out to me. It was one of my top 5 experiences here in this district. And so I just, thank you for that. And I know that this will only continue. So I just will end with this quote from JFK, which I read on that day, which really is what I say reflects my philosophy of education, is to just let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there is a private hope and dream which, fulfilled, can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation. So, thank you very much, and I pass it off to Mrs. Benetti.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Mrs. Weber, Hilburn Administration. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to share highlights from the R.P. Connor Comprehensive School Improvement Plan. At R.P. Connor, we believe that we are successful when we are able to inspire students by demonstrating our belief in them. We do this by meeting students where they are in their learning journey. We use assessment data to identify individual strengths and work with each student to set learning goals. We provide the right supports to help students progress along the learning trajectory. At R.P. Connor, we have made a commitment to independent reading during the school day. Research supports our belief that giving students access to a variety of books of choice and allowing them time to practice reading will increase reading achievement. We have worked to build a community of readers through book talks, book clubs, reading partnerships, and school-wide events such as One School, One Book. With the help of the program AR360, students in grades 1 through 5 are setting trimester reading goals and working to meet these goals by monitoring their own reading progress. Teachers are reviewing AR360 reports and assisting students in managing their reading success. For the 2018-19 school year, we saw an overall increase of 14% on the diagnostic reading assessment. We have worked to strengthen teacher partnerships. Our classroom teachers have a shared responsibility in educating the second language learners in their classroom. We have provided professional development for teachers of English language learners and equipped the teachers with the tools they need to support second language learners along the language progressions. Throughout my tenure as the principal of R.P. Connor, we have worked strategically to increase the proficiency rate for the ENL students. For the 2018-19 school year, we saw a 17% increase in the number of students who scored commanding. 46% of the students who took the NICESLAT scored proficient. That's amazing. Our school, along with Sloatsburg Elementary, has been identified as being in the top 19% of high-performing, high-poverty schools based on a 3-year study of our performance on the New York State ELA. I am honored to be presenting at the upcoming Beating the Odds Building Opportunities Conference in November. I will share how R.P. Connor has changed the narrative for students. At R.P. Connor, we have made a commitment to providing opportunities for students to play with the math standards. We have worked to create a common language that supports students mathematically along the learning continuum. We have provided professional development to support the mathematical practices and how these practices aid students in being better problem solvers. We are very proud of the leadership opportunity that we put in place during the 2016-17 school year. Since its inception, the Math Ambassadors have helped younger students learn about numbers in a fun and meaningful way. The Math Ambassador members bring a wide range of strengths to the team. During the application process, some have shared the struggles they have felt in math and their eagerness to help others who might find math a challenge. There is no academic criteria to be selected. Applicants are selected based on their desire to share their love and knowledge and their willingness to put time into trainings so that they can do their jobs well when they are with kids. The collaborative efforts are amazing in this heterogeneous grouping of student leaders. Mrs. Brennan, our math specialist, facilitates this program and routinely asks for feedback. Teachers have shared, "My students were thrilled to learn through games and to have new teachers. The Math Ambassadors were so polite, calm, courteous, and patient. These student leaders are an amazing asset to R.P. Connor." For the 2018-19 school year, we exceeded our projected growth on the NWA math assessment. For the 2018-19 school year, we continued our leadership journey on the Energy Bus. We reinforced the message that you are the driver of your bus, and you are responsible for your thoughts and actions. Research has shown that recognizing students for engaging in expected behavior is even more important than catching students breaking the rules. Students are caught being awesome and are recognized for doing the right thing. Each year, we teach the behavioral expectations and routines across settings, so all staff agree on what is expected. This has improved consistency across staff in enforcing the RP Connor Code. We use Kelso's Choice program to support students' social emotional competencies. The clinicians push into classrooms on a rotating basis to teach social cues, problem solving, and responsible decision making. Students spend more than 1,000 hours with their teacher in a typical school year. That's enough time to build a relationship that could ignite a student's lifetime love of learning. At RP Connor, we recognize the enormous impact we have on the lives of our students. We strive to make our schools so awesome that the adults and the students don't want to leave. For the 2018-19 school year, we saw a 46% overall reduction in referrals. We attribute our success to increasing the number of positive interactions that all school staff have with students. As the principal of RP Connor, I am so proud of the partnerships that we have fostered over the years. Our students are healthy, safe, supported, challenged, and engaged. Together, we have been able to educate the whole child. Thank you for supporting our most precious resource, the children. Together, we are better.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know, my name is Bill Castellan. I am the new principal of Sloatsburg Elementary School. A little background, Sloatsburg Elementary School is a Title I school with approximately 212 students. The CSIT was designed off the findings from last year, which contained 219 students. 14 of those students were classified special education. 11.4% were identified as ENL students, and 35% were free and reduced lunched. Housed at Sloatsburg Elementary School are 2 Rockland BOCES district-based classrooms and a 4th grade inclusion class. As Ms. Bonatti talked about, I put the certificate up there that we received over the summer for beating the odds and building opportunities. Like many of the other principals as mentioned, Sloatsburg has 3 priorities for this year. Our priorities are going to be literacy, mathematics, and absenteeism. Our first priority is to increase proficiency levels in ELA as determined by the DRA2 and the NWEA. After review of last year's CSIP, it appears we just missed our overall mark by 1 percentage point on the DRA. However, it is important to know that we did increase by 4 points. With that said, we would like to continue to increase an additional 5%. As far as the NWEA, we will be looking to meet or exceed the grade level projected growth. It is noted that last year was our first year that the first grade took the NWEA, and this year we added kindergarten. We will be adding additional progress monitoring checkpoints to the DRA in order to determine if any patterns exist and if we need to make any adjustments into our interventions. Our second priority is to increase student achievement in mathematics. We will accomplish this task by breaking down the key priority standards and creating focus groups. The use of math specialists and instructional facilitators will be used as well. We will integrate some of these priorities into our Creator's Code. For social emotional, we're going to focus on the chronic absenteeism. While we did not meet our goal last year, it's important to know that we did decrease the number of chronic absenteeisms, and next year we'd like to decrease that by 25%. Our third priority is going to be met through excitement and engagement. We will increase student participation across the board. Some of the ways that we are tackling this priority is through making Sloatsburg a warm and inviting atmosphere. In addition to the continuation of the Second Step program and the Yale EI program, we have established a revitalization committee that has worked on bringing the building back to life. This includes various pieces of updated artwork and modernization of the building. This includes expanding the use of Creator's Cove, implementation of Brain Gym in some of the classes, continued growth of the Green Team, and finally the partnership of the Sloatsburg Food Pantry. Last year, Sloatsburg Food Pantry provided 7% of our students with daily snacks. This year, they've increased their numbers to 12.4% of our student population. Whoop, went too far. All right, sorry. And these are just a couple of picks from this year that we had the revitalization committee. That was the new piece of artwork that the board actually had the chance to see when they came around. Our cross-country training, our participation for Saturday's cross-country meet. One school, one book. Currently we are reading The Year of Billy Miller. Our Creators Cove, our first responders, building safety, and I stuck a picture of the community posted painting contest, which will be judged this Saturday afternoon. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, and I want to thank Mrs. Weber and the Board of Education for giving me the opportunity to share with you all the wonderful things that are taking place at Cherry Lane. So who are we at Cherry Lane? We are a community of thoughtful learners that value building students' engagement and ownership. Our teachers and support staff are innovative and willing to bring new programs such as the Hudson Valley Pause for a Cause, which supports our therapeutic classes at Cherry Lane. Our Cherry Langels are resilient and are humanitarians at heart. Our students are caring, they're empathetic, and they are very creative. Our students really do understand that taking risk and making mistakes are part of the learning process, and we as a school, we do value and celebrate the process of learning and not just the product. So there are many factors that go in and components that go into preparing our students for the 21st century. Many of these elements build on each other and are integrated with one another. This is just a visual representation that signifies all of those components and how each of them are a part of the success of Cherry Lane. So tonight I'm just going to share with you, just like my colleagues did, about 3 priorities of some of the things that we're doing to improve our practice and improve student success. So the first priority is to increase student achievement and literacy. And as you can see, there are some interventions that we utilize, and those interventions are indicated around the circle. Our NWEA math is one that reflects our student growth over the past 3 years in grades 2 through 5. NWEA allows us to see if our students met or exceeded their growth projection, and as you can see, the average mean RIT for the fall and spring shows an increase in all the grade levels. We were one of the schools that piloted the units of study in phonics last year in our K-2. This program has been positively received from our teachers, our parents, and our students, and our kids love Mabel and Rashid, which are our stuffed animals. And this year, our 2nd grade students are meeting Gus the Dragon. I just went to TC last week and got a couple of Gus's even for Viola. And we believe that this program, along with other literacy curriculum and interventions, are making a tremendous impact on students' growth. So much so that last year we increased our kindergarten through 2nd grade exit benchmarks by 9%. The second priority is to increase student achievement in math. And again, we highlight our NWEA, which allows us again to see if our students met their projected growth rate. And as you can see, they did. They improved in all areas and all grade levels. We at Cherry Lane, along with many of our other sister elementary schools, we use the Engage New York modules for K-5 while also integrating some of the curriculum from Math Investigations in order to make sure that our students are engaged throughout the learning process. Our math specialist, Mrs. Burkow, she works tirelessly and closely with all of our teachers and our students to support them throughout the course of the year to make sure that we're making adjustments to our teaching and our learning. So the third priority, which I said priority 1, but we know it's priority 3, is to increase our student behavior and attendance. Our character education program continues to grow and develop over the years, and as our makerspace does, and just like my colleagues across the district, the LEI is also a big piece or component, and we're rolling that out to our students in our classrooms this year. So for the 3rd year, we are working with our teachers and our instructional facilitator on the gradual release model that we call the Makerspace Partnership. You can see that our students will be getting exposure at least once a trimester through this partnership. This doesn't include the exposure that they're getting through their regular art classes though, throughout the course of the year. What I love about this space is this space really reinforces that growth mindset. This space allows kids to make mistakes, and kids understand that mistakes are a part of the learning process, and that perseverance is also a part of them being successful, not only in this space, but in life itself. We highlight the importance of the process of learning while in the makerspace, and students are not just learning because a teacher simply gave them the information and they had to remember it. Students are learning because they want to find a solution to a problem that was presented in that space. So our students at Cherry Lane, they love to play and explore with each other while discovering new things. They enjoy thinking, they enjoy collaborating, and coming up with creative solutions together to problem solve. All of these components and many more are part of what makes Cherry Lane so special, and it makes it successful. Thank you. So as we wrap up, we just thought that we would leave you with this thought that together is better. So this is a quote from Simon Sinek, and it says, "The ability of a group of people to do remarkable things hinges on how well those people can pull together as a team." Hopefully you had a chance to see tonight how our youngest learners and our adult learners and how our teachers and administrators from the 5 different buildings really work together to form a team, the Suffern Central team.
Together, because I have too many single pictures I can't forget, so I need you all together. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to all the principals and to Sue for the great presentations and for really, really providing us with just this wonderful information and statistics on how great your buildings are doing. So thank you. Does anybody have any questions while everybody's still here? Any questions for any of our principals? I have to ask. I know you don't want to, but I got to ask. Okay, thank you.
Great job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. We'll move on to board member comments. Does anybody have anything that they would like to say? Mr. McKenzie?
I would just like to echo what Ms. Weber was saying earlier about congratulations to Courtney Violetti for her hard work that she's done in the past and will continue to do in the future. She really makes connections with the teachers and the kids and really does a fantastic job, and I'm very happy that you're here. Thank you, and thank you to all of the principals and Ms. Pario for coming out and giving us these presentations. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Shapiro?
Okay. If I had to choose which one of the 5, it really wouldn't matter, because really they are terrific. Really super job what you showed us, and I know that your hearts are really in this. And it's not just you, it's the staff, and obviously the kids love coming to school. Maybe not all of them, all of the time. But really, all 5 schools just outstanding. And this is what Suffern is, so thank you very much.
else?
I'd also like to thank the principals for their wonderful presentations. I'd also like to thank the board members and Lisa Weber for today's board retreat that we had. Very informative, and I think it gave all of us a chance to look at us as a group and work on some things and come together in ways that we might not have seen that we could. So I just wanted to thank everyone for their participation today. So,
Great, thank you. Mr. Karas? Mr. Donnelly? All right. Excellent. Public participation. This is public participation for non-action items. Any district-related matter, please step to the podium. This will be a 30-minute session. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Please refrain from discussing any district personnel or students. Getting off easy tonight. All right. Seeing as nobody wants to speak today, I'll close that portion of the meeting and move to closing comments for our superintendent.
I'm gonna try it.
It helps to find your
Just get that out.
on what wanted to my next bus to honestly be something cool and hip and fun and exciting, and I love the idea of your perspective on what you would love to see in there. If it was this was like your clubhouse.
Hi, I'm Ava O'Brien. I'm a senior at Sefton High School, and I'm in the interior design class this year. We've been tasked with the idea to create a floor plan for a school bus. We had Jen Cook come in today to explain how her process was with the foodie bus. It was pretty cool to just see how she started off from a regular school bus and transformed it into a food, like, fully built kitchen. But my group has decided to do like an arcade based off of like millennials, and like we're gonna have like pinball machines and maybe some like air hockey or something to like bring back the teenagers and like draw attention to that. We're gonna have like kind of like fun food, maybe like funnel cakes and french fries and chicken fingers. We kind of thought about that to bring in teenagers and like what they would be drawn to.
Our group's idea was to design a double-decker coach bus so it allows for more seating and more room in the kitchen and more flexibility to do things.
And then with the second floor, we're going to have a plexiglass ceiling, so it gives a different feel, and it makes it like very open, and also like gives a different like ambiance to it.
This project is really cool because in the past we've never actually like done something that can really be applied in the real world. Here we're working with like an actual client, and we get a more real life experience.
I really would love to continue building more buses. The foodie bus needs probably a brother or sister one day, and I'm really enjoying the idea of having these young adults create something that I haven't even thought of. Their minds are so fresh and unique, and I think that we could really create something fun together.
So, we can't wait, I cannot wait to see what these come up with.
That was a great video.
Now it's definitely. I do have two other brief comments. I want to congratulate Emma Munchnick, a high school sophomore, who competed for the USA National 15 and under lacrosse team this weekend in Maryland, I think it was. She represented herself, Suffolk High School, and our nation amazingly. She did a terrific job on the field and was credited by the coaches for her unselfish play.
while we're on the sports, we have a whole bunch of sectional games this week. We have field hockey tomorrow. We have girls volleyball on Friday. We have girls soccer on home on Friday. Boys soccer's in there somewhere. That one's away, I believe. And I'm not sure when boys volleyball is. Did I miss that? JV field hockey won the JV County Championships last Friday. So we have a great week of sports, and I know, should I see Coach Dempsey there? Cross country's rolling into their postseason soon. So many of our fall sports season are continuing on into the playoff rounds. If you haven't seen a team yet, hopefully you have a chance to swim through that one.
All right, excellent. That's a wrap. We're gonna, like I said previously, we're gonna adjourn. We're gonna go back and just finish our last little bit of executive, and then we'll be done. So do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. McKenzie, for a second? Second. Mr. Cairns? Oh, and yes, no. Ms. Weber is right. As long as everybody can still hear me, we do want to thank the live stream crew, everybody that helped get the live streaming together for tonight. It really, I hope, went well. I guess we'll get feedback once we're done. So, do I have a motion? I have a motion. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye. All those against, any abstentions? Thank you.
That's not my part.